throughout the 1990s, when Israel got tough, a little bit tough, a lot less tough than I would like to have seen them get, violence declined. When Israel sat back down in the negotiating table with Arafat or one of his cronies, violence peaked again. The Islamic totalitarians thrive on the West's weakness, as do all their allies. Again, there's a small group that are terrorists, but that group grows when the West is weak and shrinks when the West is tough. So
basically, can I speak? So what you're saying is that if you are more violent, you will be oppressing better your neighbors.
I'm not talking about oppressing. I'm talking about winning. I agree with a comment Dr. Pipes made earlier. This is a war. There's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser. There's no middle ground here. There's no compromise. There's no appeasement. Nothing's going to work. Either Islamic totalitarian wins or we win. The question is now, a tactical question is, what is required to win? In this conflict, the only way to win, or one of the requirements to win, it's not enough, more is needed, is violence, because the other side believes in violence. That's what they advocate. That's what they want. And therefore, the only way to defeat it and to discourage them is through violence. I don't believe in oppression. I believe that once we win, we leave them to their own fate and let them do what they want.
Last question. Last question.
No,
very
no,
short.
no.
Very
There's
brief.
a long line behind you.
What do you say to someone that says that your strength of fighting is the same as the strength that they want because...
Please leave the microphone. Okay.
Yeah, one second. Dr. Sultan wants to say something.
Okay.
Yeah, there is American saying that goes, speak softly and carry heavy stick. In our culture, when you speak softly, I perceive you as a weak man. So with Islam, you have to speak harshly and carry heavy stick.
There's been a request that the answers be shorter so that we can have more questioners. Leave it up with the panel on the side. Several questions relating to Dr. Sultan. They amount to the following. How could you support a protest against or a semi-rational version of Islam from within Islamic countries when they're totalitarian dictatorships? How could you speak up without getting killed or imprisoned? What choices do you have if you're within one of those countries?
It is very hard to do that inside any Islamic country, because once you do that, you will for sure be killed. So there is no personal freedom, no freedom of expression in the Islamic world. And that's why somehow the United Nations have to guarantee the human rights inside these Islamic countries. Otherwise, you know, I always chat with people in the Arabic world online, and you wouldn't believe they support me behind the scene. They are looking for a change. They are looking, don't believe Muslims who live in this country because they don't feel the need to change. But people there are dying, are looking for an exit to get out of their hell. They always look for the United States of America to do something. But so far, I don't believe anything positive has happened, unfortunately.
Next questioner.
Thank you. I appreciate you all, and I admire your courage, your clarity, and scholarship. Thank you again. I have two questions, if I may. One is, how do we deal with entities who masquerade themselves behind civil rights entities such as CARE, MPAC, INZA, etc. I mean, and who are using our political mean to propound their agenda, their true agenda, which they don't tell us publicly, as quoted by one, to me, Ibrahim Cooper, who told me one time when I asked him about his past support for terrorism. We don't support this publicly. And I wrote about it, as you some aware here. At any rate, and my second question, Dr. Pipe, your contention that militant Islam is the problem and moderate Islam is the solution. I tend to agree with Dr. Sultan. And there, some time ago in a hearing that happened in March, I believe, you had agreed or with the resolving the Arab-Israeli
Just finish the question,
conflict.
No, she's asked a question.
Just a second, pardon me.
People behind you. There are lots of people
Okay.
behind you.
So, under what circumstances it would be appropriate to establish a 23rd Arab state, that is Palestine, and what impact it would have? Thank you.
On the second question addressed to me, Rachel, I believe that it is premature to make any statements now, any plans now, in public about the final disposition of the Palestinians. Whether they will be independent or not, whether they'll be autonomous or not, whether they'll be under Jordanian rule or Egyptian rule, these are decisions that should not be taken at this time because the war is still underway. Only when the enemies of Israel have concluded that they cannot eliminate the Jewish state, only at that point is it useful to start discussing whether there should be a Palestinian state or some other ultimate status. I therefore do not discuss this issue, and I therefore urge you not to discuss it. And I would say, no, I don't reject the possibility of a Palestinian state, but a lot of things have to happen before I think such a state should come into being. The Palestinians basically have to accept Israel and tend to their own gardens. And that's a long way off.
Dr. Sultan.
First question regarding CARE. Up to my interview on Al Jazeera, I was very involved in my Muslim community here in LA, and I know CARE very well, and I know their goal and their objectives. And I have heard it many times that they are here to spread Islam and to replace the American Constitution with the Islamic Sharia. I was contacted by CARE, by a member of CARE 2-3 times that I am crossing the red line. And as a Muslim background, I can understand what they mean by you're crossing the red line. They mean very soon you're going to be beheaded. So they threat me, but in Arabic way. If I tell you what he told me, you're not going to take it that way. So they are here, and the American people have to be aware of that. They are here to spread Islam and to replace the American Constitution with Islamic Sharia. So we all have to do something about it. Thank you.
Let me just add to that. Absolutely, and I think that's part of the way part of the problem in the way we've defined the war. If you define the war as a war on terrorism, CARE are not terrorists. But if you define the war as a war against Islamic totalitarianism, then now some of these preachers in the mosques and CARE and others are part of the enemy. And what did we do with Nazis who were in America? So if you define the war properly, if you define the enemy properly, then all this becomes a lot easier to deal with.